Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're actually going on a fascinating journey, and it starts literally right outside your front door. We're going to explore the hidden networks, those daily activities, and the absolutely essential services that make a typical neighborhood tick. Seriously, I want you to think about that for a second. Have you ever really stopped to consider how your neighborhood actually works? We walk out of our homes every single day. We see the roads, the shops, the people, but it's just so easy to take those everyday systems operating right in front of us completely for granted. Well, today, we're going to change that. We're diving into this chapter to decode the wondrous world all around us. Section 1. A walk through town and discovering the community. This chapter actually sets the scene with a young student named Navya meeting her grandfather Dadaji right after school. Now, Navya suggests they take the market route home, and as they walk, their very first stop is a local bus stop. Just think about the sheer number of people gathered there. I mean, this is our very first invisible system at work, public transportation. It's this incredibly essential network designed to move people seamlessly through the community. Moving right along from the bus stop, they step into the bustling local market. In neighborhoods, they're basically centers of immense activity, right? Markets like this are the ultimate social and economic anchors. You've got vendors selling fresh produce, complex price negotiations happening on the fly, and all these spontaneous social interactions. It's a lively hub of daily trade that literally forms the heartbeat of the community. Moving to Section 2, the evolution of communication. From drumbeats to letters. Imagine seeing that bright red pillar on the corner. As Navya points out the classic red postbox standing outside the post office, we're kind of reminded that this simple, everyday object, it's actually a physical gateway to a massive, invisible network of human connection. It just perfectly illustrates how we manage to share information across vast distances. I mean, really think about the sheer scale of this evolution. Long ago, human communication relied pretty much on line of sight or earshot. We're talking physical sounds like drumbeats or literally carving symbols into local stones. Fast forward to today, and the modern postal service acts as this giant global conveyor belt. You can write your thoughts on a piece of paper, drop it in a box, and this incredibly coordinated logistics network will physically carry it to the other side of the planet. It's wild. The chapter actually highlights a really engaging activity here, which is writing a physical letter to a friend. Actually going to a post office, watching the sorting desks, seeing the stamps and the postal workers in action. Doing that completely demystifies the whole process. It takes this abstract communication network and turns it into a highly tangible, super memorable experience. All right, Section 3. From barter to banks. How we trade and save. Long before we had these bustling modern markets, humanity relied heavily on the barter system. In this ancient setup, people exchanged goods directly. Picture a farmer offering fresh wheat in exchange for a sheep from a local shepherd. No coins, no paper cash, just a straightforward, direct swap of physical value. But ask yourself this. What if the shepherd didn't want wheat today? What if actually he wanted apples instead? Economists call this the double coincidence of wants. Basically, finding someone who has exactly what you want and who wants exactly what you have. It was, as you can imagine, incredibly inefficient, and it brilliantly illustrates exactly why money had to be invented. Money basically stepped in to become the universal stand-in for value. To really appreciate how this works, the chapter encourages you to take out a physical currency note, like an Indian currency note, and just look at it really closely. It is completely packed with data. You've got the specific numerical value, multiple languages representing a huge diverse population, and these really unique symbols of national heritage. It's this intricate piece of design that solves that whole barter problem entirely. Now, once we have this universal currency, we obviously have to store it somewhere. Many of us, when we first get pocket money, we start by keeping it in a piggy bank at home. And here's a fun fact from the chapter. The term actually comes from pig, P-Y-G-G, which was an old type of orange clay used to make jars back in the Middle Ages. Pretty cool, right? It's basically our very first introduction to the whole concept of securely storing our gathered value. But of course, as we grow up, that little clay piggy bank evolves into a much larger neighborhood institution, the modern bank. Banks scale up those essential services for the entire community. They offer intense security for our money, they track every single microtransaction in digital or physical passbooks, and they deploy ATMs, automated teller machines, to give us 24/7 liquidity, all without ever needing to speak to a human teller. And that brings us to Section 4, Mapping Our Community, Navigating and Services. I want you to imagine looking down at your neighborhood from a bird's eye view. All these localized nodes we've talked about, the bus stops, the secured banks, those bustling markets, the post offices, they all fit together to form this beautifully complex urban layout. A neighborhood map is kind of the ultimate tool for understanding the spatial relationship between all these vital community hubs. And to actually read that map, you rely on the cardinal directions. You know the drill: north pointing upwards, south downward, east to the right, and west to the left. Interestingly, though, north wasn't always at the top. A lot of medieval maps actually placed east at the top, which is, by the way, where the word orientation comes from. Orient, meaning east. But today, this standardized grid is exactly how we navigate the services around us. When you get down to it, a well-functioning neighborhood is really just a collection of specialized teams and assets. Take a look at how this breaks down in the chapter. A police station relies heavily on human capital, the officers and constables, and that's paired with specific physical vehicles, like patrolling jeeps. And honestly, whether it's a fire station, a hospital, or even a local library, every single service has its own dedicated helpers and tools. They're all just working in the background to maintain the health and safety of the community map. So, as we wrap up our explainer of this chapter today, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. The next time you step outside your front door, don't just look at the buildings. Look at the systems. Look for the delivery vehicles tracing the map, the ATMs providing liquidity, and the post boxes connecting us globally. What hidden networks will you spot operating right under your nose? The neighborhood is completely alive, and now you know exactly how to read it. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep exploring.